In 2014, commercial divers 400 feet beneath the Atlantic found a 12,000-year-old staircase carved into solid bedrock. The bottom step ended at a sealed stone door radiating 98-degree heat into the freezing water. Classified hydrophone audio from that dive reveals what was pounding on the door from the inside. Freeze this moment. Two divers, floating in pitch-black water, their flashlights illuminating 5 pristine stone steps disappearing into solid volcanic rock. Their oxygen gauges are ticking down. Their communication line is crackling with static. And beneath their gloved hands, the stone is vibrating. To understand how two veteran deep-sea technicians ended up staring at an impossible doorway on the ocean floor, we have to rewind to 72 hours earlier. In the summer of 2018, a private marine research vessel named the Meridian Horizon was mapping the seabed 40 miles off the coast of the Azores archipelago. The region is famous for its extreme underwater topography, steep volcanic drop-offs, underwater trenches, and violent seismic activity. The crew was using high-resolution multibeam sonar to chart the ocean floor for a commercial cable installation. It was routine, boring work. Until the sonar operator noticed a glitch on his monitor. At a depth of 140 feet, the sonar returned an anomaly. Nature builds in curves, fractures, and irregular lines. But the image appearing on the display was composed of exact 90-degree angles. A flat platform, roughly 20 feet wide, ending in a series of hard, parallel edges. The expedition leader, Dr. Arthur Vance, assumed it was a sunken container or a modern shipwreck. He ordered a specialized dive team to inspect the site before the cable-laying equipment moved in. Experienced commercial divers Marcus Reed and Elena Gomez suited up. They were veterans of deep-water saturation dives, trained to handle low visibility, strong currents, and extreme claustrophobia. But nothing in their 20 years of combined experience prepared them for what was waiting in the gloom. When Marcus and Elena descended along the guide line, the water was dark, cold, and murky. Sunlight barely penetrated this deep. Their powerful dive lights cut through the drifting organic debris, revealing the ocean floor, a jagged landscape of black basalt, lava tubes, and coarse sand. Then, Marcus swept his torch to the left. Rising out of the sediment was a massive, hand-hewn structure. It was not a natural rock formation. It was a staircase. 5 steps, each precisely 18 inches high and 6 feet wide. The edges were sharp, crisp, and completely free of the jagged fracturing typical of underwater volcanic rock. Marcus reached out his gloved hand and touched the top step. Marine growth usually coats every millimeter of submerged rock in the Atlantic. Shells, barnacles, and thick coral normally cover anything underwater for more than a few years. But these steps were smooth. Almost polished. Elena swam closer, bringing her helmet-mounted camera inches from the surface of the second step. That was when she made the first chilling discovery. The rock wasn't limestone or sandstone, soft stones that an ancient civilization might manage to carve. It was solid basalt. Basalt is one of the hardest igneous rocks on Earth. To cut it with this degree of precision today requires diamond-tipped saws and high-pressure water jets. Yet geology tells us this seabed has been underwater for over 12,000 years. And that was when the real mystery began. Marcus followed the staircase downward, expecting it to lead to a sunken plaza or the foundation of a long-lost temple. Instead, the steps descended straight into the face of a massive underwater cliff wall. They didn't go around the mountain. They went into it. At the bottom of the 5th step, the path ended abruptly at a massive stone slab set flush into the rock face. It looked like a door. A portal carved out of the mountain itself, sealed so tightly that not even a razor blade could fit between the seams. Elena pressed her sonar transducer against the center of the stone door to measure its thickness. The instrument sent ultrasonic sound waves through the rock to map whatever lay behind it. Back on the deck of the Meridian Horizon, the audio line rang out with Elena's voice over the radio. "Arthur, you need to look at this feed right now." On the ship's screens, the sonar reading wasn't showing solid rock behind the slab. It was showing a hollow space. A long, straight corridor extending over 80 feet into the heart of the underwater mountain. But the strangest part was still to come. As Dr. Vance analyzed the density readings of the hollow space, he noticed something impossible. The sonar wave was reflecting off ambient heat. The temperature inside the mountain corridor was 72 degrees Fahrenheit. The surrounding ocean water was barely 40 degrees. Something inside that sealed rock chamber was generating heat. Down at the bottom of the sea, Marcus leaned his gloved hand against the center of the stone slab to check its stability. Through his thick neoprene gloves, he felt a distinct, rhythmic thrumming. It wasn't the movement of the ocean current. It was a low-frequency vibration. A steady pulse repeating every 1.2 seconds. Like a heartbeat coming from deep inside the mountain. Panic began to creep into the dive team. Elena checked her dive computer. They had been at 140 feet for 20 minutes. Nitrogen was building in their bloodstreams. Their ambient light was fading as thick storm clouds rolled over the surface above. "We need to take a core sample and head up," Marcus radioed. He unholstered a pneumatic diamond bit drill from his equipment tool roll. He pressed the tip against the corner of the lowest step and triggered the mechanism. The drill whined against the rock, spitting gray dust into the dark water. He drilled for 3 straight minutes. When he pulled the bit back, he stared in utter disbelief. The drill bit, rated to cut through reinforced steel, was completely worn flat. It hadn't even made a scratch on the step. The stone was harder than any material known to modern engineering. Suddenly, their comms crackled with violent static. A sharp, piercing tone rang through their earpieces, making both divers grab their helmets in pain. "Meridian Horizon, do you copy?" Marcus yelled over the noise. Dr. Vance's voice came back through the static, but it wasn't calm anymore. It was urgent. "Marcus, Elena, abort the dive. Surface now. Drop your weights and ascend." Above them, a massive shadow had blocked out the faint sunlight. It wasn't a storm cloud. A high-speed naval patrol vessel had moved directly over their dive site. Before Marcus and Elena could even clear their safety stops during ascension, armed military personnel were standing on the deck of the Meridian Horizon. When the divers finally climbed up the ladder and hauled themselves onto the deck, they were immediately isolated. Men in tactical gear without military insignia confiscated the sonar logs, the helmet camera SD cards, and the telemetry drives. The expedition was shut down on the spot. The coordinates were designated a restricted military zone under the guise of an unexploded ordnance clearing operation. The crew was forced to sign non-disclosure agreements before being escorted back to port. The official record of the Meridian Horizon expedition was scrubbed. As far as the public was concerned, they had mapped nothing more than empty volcanic sand. But they forgot one thing. Elena Gomez had a secondary backup drive in her suit's dry pocket, a small external drive that automatically mirrored her helmet camera's sensor data. Months after the incident, working with an independent team of acoustic engineers, Elena managed to extract the raw audio frequency captured by her suit's hydrophone while she was standing on those carved steps. What they heard was terrifying. The vibration coming from behind the stone wall wasn't natural seismic noise. When sped up 8 times, the low-frequency pulse revealed a clear, mathematical pattern. It was a repeated signal, cycling through prime numbers, broadcasting continuously into the dark mantle of the Earth. And what researchers discovered next would change everything. Geological surveys of the Azores Plateau reveal that 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, the sea level was 400 feet lower than it is today. Which means those stone stairs were not built underwater. When those steps were carved into the mountain with impossible precision out of unbreakable stone, they were sitting high above the sea, bathed in sunlight, looking out over a dry valley that no longer exists. Someone constructed an entrance into a mountain. And then the ocean rose, covering it in hundreds of feet of water, sealing it away from the world for 12 millennia. Now, return to that frozen moment 140 feet below the waves. Marcus and Elena floating in the ink-black Atlantic, their lights tracing the outline of a door cut into solid mountain rock. A door that was never meant to be found. A door that is still running, still vibrating, and still waiting for someone to open it from the inside. If the ocean rose and swallowed an advanced civilization 12,000 years ago, what else did we leave behind in the deep? And more importantly, who is still inside that mountain, keeping the lights on? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the unknown, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. The dark holds many secrets, and we are just getting started.